Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
What's the reason?
Not conforming to my rules.
Sorry?
You're not conforming to my rules. I can ban anybody I want.
I'm exempt. Medically exempt.
You're banned from the store.
This gentleman has asked you to leave.
Yeah, and I'm exempt. And you know that.
Doesn't matter. You may be exempt from wearing a mask inside his business, but he doesn't have to allow you to be inside his business.
Well, that would be discrimination. He's open to the public. You don't want to do this, Charles. I know.
You're going to leave. You can fight whatever you want in court, but we're going to leave right now.
I will be purchasing my stuff today.
All right, undress.
All right.
This is a case where things should have never gotten to that level, but we were able to negotiate with the Crown and especially rely on the fact that it is not in the societal interest to put Michelle through this and have her face these consequences over something that is nowhere near criminal activity. Michelle, in the end, only received a caution letter and had the charges against her withdrawn. So she's no longer facing a criminal record. She's no longer facing these vexatious charges. And she's, of course, very happy to go forward with her life without all of these consequences.
You want to be with her? Keep it up.
I have a right to film.
You want to be with her in the back seat?
I have a right
Continue.
to film.
Go ahead. You're filming.
I am filming. Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you guys doing this, and I really pray and I hope that, people can soon see the truth and learn and this has a positive impact. It's important that we know what's happening in our own communities to our people, to our neighbors and our loved ones.
The summer may have brought Canadians a few weeks of freedom from tyrannical COVID-19 restrictions, but at Rebel News, we haven't stopped fighting the good fight. Today, you're going to see one of our victory cases. A mom who spent the night in prison was charged and fined after not wearing a mask while shopping at a hardware store. This mom is from Creston, BC. You're not going to want to miss a minute of this report. Trust me. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News. Here at Rebel News, we bring you the other side of the story. We've been doing so with COVID-19 since the beginning of 2020, and part of that journey has been letting people know just how horribly effective many people have been by tyrannical COVID-19 restrictions. The government overreach has been out of control. That's why we started a civil liberties project called Fight the Fines. We partnered with the Democracy Fund, and together we've helped supply over 2,000 Canadians with free, top-notch lawyers to help them fight fines, as well as in cases like this, criminal charges. And today, we have a victory story, a mom, a law-abiding citizen who, like I said, had to spend a cold night in jail in our so-called free country, Canada. This is an outrageous story. You're going to see the original interview I did where she details you through the madness. And then I'm going to connect you with the top-notch lawyer, Mohamed El Rashidy, that we set her up with through the Fight the Fines project. He helped her get those charges dropped, but we're still fighting those fines. So for that, as well as all the other people that we are helping, if you want to help join that good fight with us, please donate what you can at fightthefines.com. Every dollar helps. Lawyers are not cheap, and I'd like to say we're out of the woods with fighting these types of cases, but I don't know. You let me know in the comments if you think so. So here is Michelle's story.
Michelle, it's great to see you again. You look good.
Thank you. Great to see you as well.
Now, we're going to show your full report about what actually happened to you, the madness you took a stand for, just being able to shop without your breathing areas covered, and it got really out of control for you. And since then, a lot has gone down, including a win. So we're going to talk about that. But before we show the original part of the story, why don't you just tell us, has things settled down for you in your area when it comes to shopping at hardware stores?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been in there since, and there doesn't seem to be an issue. And prior to this criminal charge, there was no issue as well. So I have been able to go back in there. I have to say, I've kind of been treading lightly and choosing to go elsewhere because of the anxiety that creates within me. And I always like to feel welcome where I am. And that was a bit of a traumatic experience, an experience I've not gone through in the past ever. Yeah, it feels good to be where I am and to have, one aspect of that kind of put behind me. Although this is not finished, it's not done. We're heading in the right direction anyways, and I'm a free woman.
Let's hear what happened to you. Michelle, thank you so much for being on Rebel News. Now, I've seen your name many times on the fines board, and that's because you are a fighter. You have 5 tyrannical fines that you've received and a criminal charge. Wow. So before we dive in it, let's talk about some of the fines. Why don't you talk about some of the craziest things that are attached to a couple of the fines that you have?
So most of them have been for peacefully assembling and protesting. So that would be the 4. One of them actually was for entering our local independent grocery store without a face covering. So in that situation, I was actually removed from the store with handcuffs and placed in the back of the vehicle.
Wow.
You want to be with her? Keep it up.
I have a right to film.
You want to be with her in the back seat?
I have a right
Continue.
to film.
Go ahead. You're filming.
I am filming. Yeah.
And then just the recent one that took place, I went into our local home hardware building center. My husband and I were local builders, and so we require access to these stores to get our supplies to operate our business and provide for our families. And so I'd gone in on that particular day on March 1st, and I was met by the owner who basically, I was the only one in there without a face mask. And so he approached me and asked me to leave and phone the RCMP. And he came in and arrested me for trespassing and removed me from the place. And at that point, I was removed, taken to the cell here in Creston. And I stayed there overnight. And in the morning,
overnight?
Yes, overnight.
Oh my goodness.
So at that point, I mean, I was given a criminal charge of common nuisance. And actually about 7 o'clock, they had me put on my personal belongings, and it was my impression that I was going to be able to leave at that point. But on the counter, they had 3 pieces of paper lined up, and he asked me to sign these papers and if I agreed to the criminal charge. And I said, I don't understand and I don't agree, no, and I won't be signing anything. And so he said, well, take it all off and put me back in the cell till the morning.
Wow. That is, I mean, so disturbing. And there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, we're seeing this trend of people being, in my opinion, turned into lawbreakers. My first question is, since you've been arrested so many times recently, had you ever been in trouble with a law like that before? Have you ever been arrested before?
Absolutely not. No, never arrested. Never so much as tickets. I've never been in a court. I've never had any issues with the law whatsoever prior to COVID.
And so now these are matters of peaceful assembly. And also you're claiming a mask exemption, correct?
That's right.
Which is not against the public health order. Tell us a little bit about what it's like being a mom, being behind bars and thinking, what's going to happen if I get found guilty of this?
Yeah, that's a very frightening thought for sure, because I've never been put in that situation. And I realized that very easily from one moment to the next, I'm turned into this criminal. And how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with the backlash? And people don't understand really what's going on sometimes. And so my efforts to try to provide for my family and to access supplies, materials that I need is no longer going to be an option. And that's a scary thought. And so spending a night in jail, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. It was tough. It was really tough. It took me a while to recover because, it was, it's not a place that I want to go back to, nor, I mean, I'm still shaken up by it. Sorry. It didn't feel very humane, and it didn't feel very fitting for my circumstances, so there was a lot of anxiety after the fact. Am I going to be in a situation? I felt like I was very targeted. So would I be out in the public and then all of a sudden just be plucked out of my surroundings and placed in a cell? And that's how it really felt.
Yeah. I can totally see how it would feel like that. You just have no sense of security. Now, there's a lot of dialogue between you and, I don't know, is that the manager or the owner of the hardware store?
So Rob Shepard is the owner of the home hardware store. So there was dialogue several times prior to that. And I had gone into the store. I had chose to use the other pyramid building supply store that we have here. But however, there are times when I can't get the supplies I'm needing. Mm-hmm. So I would go to home hardware. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, my drive's an hour and a half to Cranbrook. So I did go into the store, and I had bought material prior. I was approached by some of the staff. The one woman, she was very kind. She just said, can I get you a mask? I said, no, I'm exempt. And then she said, well, I'll have to do your shopping for you. You're going to have to go stay in the foyer, and I can do your shopping for you. And I said, well, that would actually be discrimination because I don't know what I want, and I have to be able to, look at the products for myself. And she was very nice. She said, okay, yeah, no, fair enough. And I continued on. So, but on this particular day, Rob would not have me in his store.
Hi. Yeah. Hi. What'll take stain off besides sandpaper? Just sandpaper, sanding it's the only way to do it?
What's the reason?
Not conforming to my rules.
Sorry?
You're not conforming to my rules. I can ban anybody home.
I'm exempt. Medically exempt.
You're banned from the store.
Well, I have every right to be here.
No, you don't. This is my store, my property. You're out of here.
I'm going to continue to shop and get the things I need and the supplies I need. You are open to the public.
No, I'm not.
And what you are doing is discriminating against me currently.
No, I'm not.
Well, beg to differ. I won't be leaving. Not today.
You're banned. You're trespassing.
I'm not trespassing under law.
You are.
I am within my rights to be here. Right now, your actions are very discriminating. You have no authority to do as you are doing.
Authority in the world to do this.
I physically cannot wear a mask, and when you ban me from your store and discriminate me,
it's not discrimination.
It absolutely is under the law, and you have all the necessary documents to prove that. You've been handed that over and over and over.
You're banned from the store.
Okay, well, I'm going to continue shopping. If you feel that you need to phone the authorities on me, then by all means. But I'm going to finish up doing what I need to do here.
It'll be the last time you're in here.
Hey, Charles.
How's it going?
Good.
This gentleman has asked you to leave.
Yeah, and I'm exempt, and you know that.
It doesn't matter. You may be exempt from wearing a mask inside his business, but he doesn't have to allow you to be inside his business.
Well, that would be discrimination. He's open to the public. You don't want to do this, Charles. I know.
You're going to leave. You can fight whatever you want in court, but we're going to leave right now.
I'm going to purchase my stuff.
Nope.
I have a business to run, a family to
He's
provide
asked you to
for.
leave, so you're now trespassing. Okay? So You're gonna leave or I'm gonna arrest you.
I will be purchasing my stuff today.
Wait, undress.
All right.
I just told you to trespass.
Yeah, I got it.
You know this isn't a trespass offense.
Okay, and now let's talk about this. So you've been charged with nuisance over the incident that came here, but something really even more funky than this whole situation happened. And you were accused of shoplifting as well, right?
Right. So when I was being released from prison the next morning, on the Tuesday morning, I believe it was, or the 2nd, there was another piece of paper. And so the officer said, Rob Shepard has dropped off a letter for you that he wants you to have. So I grabbed my pieces of paper, and I was being, at that point, escorted back to Home Hardware because I'm indefinitely banned from the premises. But I was taken there so I could retrieve my vehicle the next morning. So as I'm in the vehicle and we're getting closer to my vehicle, I look down and I start reading this so-called letter that had been dropped off that morning. And I said, oh my goodness, I said to Officer Charles, I said, what is going on? I said, why am I being charged with theft? And he goes, no, you're not. And I said, well, that's what this is saying right here. So I actually started to read it out loud to him.
Yeah.
And at first he kind of tried to make up a few excuses and said, well, it's probably just on a generic form. And so at that point, I realized I had my phone back. And so I pulled it out and started recording it, the conversation with myself and the officer. And he admitted, he said, I actually did not even read the letter.
Oh my goodness.
You did not steal anything from the place. I mean, that's not why the phone call was put out. It was the woman in the store without a face covering, not because the woman had been taking merchandise from the store. So
you know what? I'm just going to theorize here. This isn't fact, but I wonder if he read some of those papers you were trying to give him while you're sitting there rotting in jail and went, oops. She wasn't as crazy as I thought. You know, there are actually a thing called human rights in Canada, and, you know, it's not a cool thing to discriminate. And then all of a sudden you're a shoplifter. That is madness. So, Michelle, that is a crazy story. It's going to be one of the craziest stories when it comes to how people have been treated in the name of COVID-19 virus control. Now, let's talk about your win. Let's talk about something good. And it's not fully over yet. We still have the fines to deal with. But let's talk about your criminal defense win. And we're also going to speak to Mohamed as well.
Okay, yeah. So it's great to be in my position now. It takes a lot of the stress off and, you know, a lot of the worrying, what is going to happen next? You know, I'm a mom. I care deeply about my family, my children, and I want to be around. And I feel that, you know, we need justice and accountability and transparency and truth. Right now, we are at that moment in time where we need that truth out there. And so, it's a burden off my shoulders, and we still have a lot of work to do, but I think that we will get there.
Awesome. And so you had to kind of show up or something like that. Like, tell us the process of what happened with the criminal charges.
So I did show up to the court being this is my first time experience and unsure of what that all looked like. And I wanted to just make sure that I was where I needed to be on the right date. So I did show up, and they were very confused as to why I was there. At first, they thought it was a traffic ticket, and they really the final say was, we don't really know how to deal with this. Let's postpone this to a further date. And so the clerk actually admitted, I've never processed one of these.
Yeah, and it never should have been processed. And then Fight the Fines lawyer, Mohamed El Rashidy, who we'll hear from in just a moment, he stepped in. And what was that like for you?
Oh, relief. I mean, I was like, okay, do I need to be anywhere? Do I need to do anything? No, we got you covered. And they did. And so I'm grateful to them for that.
Okay. And then you got a letter or you got a call or what happened?
So I got a letter, or what did I get? A call? Sorry.
That's okay.
So I get a call, that the charges have been dropped and we're all good. So, and that was basically it. And reassuring me that, we're here for you. So if there's anything further you're needing, we're a phone call away. So that, just having that little lifeline is an amazing feeling.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for fighting for what is right when it comes to everything that's been happening. Let's hear from Mohamed about why it was important to take on your case.
Michelle was facing criminal charges in a situation that should have never gotten to that level. We employed two strategies in our defense of Michelle. The first is a procedural one. We checked the court documents, went above and beyond to see if there are any errors, especially fatal errors, in what was submitted to the court. We were successful in finding some weaknesses in those documents, and we used that as leverage in dealing with the Crown. Now, we were able to do that thanks to the funding that you have provided to the Democracy Fund, and we strongly urge you to continue and do your best to provide funding, because it really helps not only people like Michelle, but other cases as well. This is a case where things should have never gotten to that level, but we were able to negotiate with the Crown and especially rely on the fact that it is not in the societal interest to put Michelle through this and have her face these consequences over something that is nowhere near criminal activity. Michelle, in the end, only received a caution letter and had the charges against her withdrawn. So she's no longer facing a criminal record. She's no longer facing these vexatious charges. And she's, of course, very happy to go forward with her life without all of these consequences. We thank each and every one of you who's donated, and we absolutely urge you to do your best to continue this path, as we will continue to keep this momentum going forward and to have all the people facing these charges get their fair shake in court. Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you guys doing this, and I really pray and I hope that, people can soon see the truth and learn, and this has a positive impact. It's important that we know what's happening in our own communities, to our people, to our neighbors and our loved ones.
Well, it's definitely been an eye-opening time, and make sure your thanks, I think it's directed to the people, because honestly, we couldn't help any of the cases that we've helped without the donation from like-minded people like you who also want to join you and stand with you as you take on this fight. So thank you for all who donated to help people like Michelle at fightthefines.com. And hopefully we won't have to keep battling these types of things, but I don't know. We're seeing some signs in the fall that this may still be needed. And there's lots of cases you guys haven't even seen of that are behind the scenes. So if you want to donate to help us recoup some of those legal costs, you can do so at fightthefines.com. Michelle, we'll be in touch about your fine, but I'm so glad that you're free, and your name should be cleared by watching this video. Certainly not a shoplifter, just a Canadian.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I reached out to the hardware store. Where is their head at with this? Where did the accusations of shoplifting come from? I did not hear back from them. If I do in a reasonable time, I will update it to the written article of this report found at rebelnews.com. At Rebel News, we've helped many people like Michelle who have taken a stand for your freedoms and mine. And if you want to help us on that journey, please donate what you can to fightthefines.com. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. Hey, if you appreciate this report you saw and you want to make sure you never lose touch with us, you'd better sign up for our email list at rebelnews.com. Big tech has been trying to censor us, especially during life with COVID-19. So go to rebelnews.com, give us your phone number and your email so that we never lose touch.